Hi there, I'm Kor'tal and welcome back to Kor'tal Hammer. This is the third part of an ongoing series on the Tau Sept worlds. In the previous part we covered all the septs of the first and second expansion sphere. So today we are going to cover all the septs of the third, fourth and fifth expansion spheres. So, without further faffing about, let's visit the latest additions to the Tau Empire. Let's start with the third expansion phase. A lot has happened during the second and the third. Just when the Damocles Gulf Crusade was barely survived, the Tau got their own taste of what saved their little blue butts. See, the Damocles Crusade, which was an half-hearted effort to wipe out the Tau, would have done way more damage than it did, but the Imperium had to cancel the crusade because another Tyranid invasion was ready to go. The Tau had barely collected themselves as they got confronted by the Tyranids themselves in the form of High Fleet Gorgon. High Fleet Gorgon suddenly appeared at the Tau Empire's back door and was rearing up ready to go, pounding the Tau Empire's lower parts and penetrating their defenses. Remember Fe'saan from the previous video? Yeah, this is what they had to deal with. In the meantime, Commander Farsight led an expedition past the Damocles Gulf. The idea was that Farsight and his expedition would conquer worlds at an astounding rate to restore Tau morale. Well, every single ethereal in that expedition got oopsied, and Farsight buggered off to make his own club for cool Tau.
I'm gonna go build my own
empire
with blackjack and hookers.
So that was kind of a bummer.
Why does nothing ever turn out like it should?
When that and the Tyranids weren't enough already, a whole bunch of orcs, which are a problem anyway, like everywhere in the galaxy, started to gather and launch coordinated efforts to take out the Tau. Well, as coordinated as a bunch of orcs can be. This was known as the War of Confederation and lasted somewhat over 2 decades. After that, Aun'va, the Supreme Ethereal, also known as Blue Space Pope, declared that the time was ripe for a third expansion phase. Can't blame the guy, to be honest. You would want to leave too if a Tyranid was biting your ankle, an orc on the other ankle, and your best commander buggered off during all of that. The third expansion phase would be far more difficult and far less successful because now they started to push into actual Imperial territory. The task of having to face those odds was given to Commander Shas'o, who had proven herself a worthy commander during the conflict that we mentioned earlier. As predicted, the ground gained was less than exciting, but considering that she had to fend off a dedicated counterattack by Astartes' forces, who brought no less than 10 chapters, it's a small miracle that she managed to gain any new planets at all. The first of these few conquered worlds is Ksi'myen. Ksi'myen was an Imperial world that betrayed the Imperium. When the Imperial defense forces of the planet were drawn off to fight something more important, the Tau basically swooped in and, having hammered the population with propaganda for decades now, they joined the Tau Empire without firing a single shot. They then moved the entire human population deeper into the Tau Empire. They say it's because they wanted to protect them from the Imperium's vengeance. But they probably just didn't want to give them the chance to change their mind and do a double betrayal. The population of Ksi'myen is known for being very lucky and opportunistic, so basically a casino's worst nightmare. Their luck would run out, however, when they captured a genestealer. Being opportunistic, they decided to study the creature, and it was only a matter of time till someone got infected. The abominations that spawned from that were seen as really neato by the Tau scientists, so they actually kept them for study. A few years later, the Firecast was called in to eradicate and cleanse the entire planet in a bloody war that would take almost 10 years. Man, who could have seen that coming? Next is Fe'saan. This planet was infested by an unnamed orc warlord. The Tau fought a bloody war to gain control over it, but due to the many retaliation attacks by the orcs, who demanded, and I quote,
Oi, you blue git! Give me my stuff back!
This has forced them to turn the entire world into a fortress world. The Tau of this Sept are exceptionally stubborn and absolutely refuse to admit defeat of any kind. If a 90% casualty rate is what the greater good demands, so be it. A last tidbit. Firios was conquered by Shas'o, another disciple of Puretide other than Farsight and Shadowsun. And Kais will get his own video later down the line because he is a way too overlooked character. Last of the third expansion phase worlds is Mugulaf Bay. This world was also an Imperial world conquered by the Tau, previously known as Agrellan. The battle for Agrellan was the largest of the entire Third Sphere expansion, and included a large number of prototypes fielded by the Tau, in a desperate attempt to one-up the Imperial defenders. In the end, the new XV-104 Riptide battlesuits were superior to the Imperial Guard's tanks, and the planet was conquered by the Tau, even if one entire moon of Mugulaf was blown up in the process. The Imperium launched a massive counterattack, including Astartes from the Raven Guard and White Scars, but the Tau, with the help of the Farsight enclaves, managed to hold strong and keep the world in their control, even if this battle saw the death of Blue Space Pope Onva, who got promoted to an actual ethereal being when a Colexus assassin found him huddled in a bunker.
Gotcha, bitch!
Uh-oh.
Why you send a Colexus assassin to deal with Tau? I don't know. After this bloody conflict, the Imperium saw the strength and resolve of the Tau. They found respect for this young empire and left Mugulaf after the Tau had earned their victory in blood. Nah, I'm just messing with y'all. They blew it the fuck up. If I can't have it, nobody can. Mugulaf got bombed to shit by an exterminator's fleet with unknown weapons of such power that they not only wiped the planet clean, but even set the entire region of space on fire. Again, don't ask me how any of that works. I'm just telling you what it says in the books. The few Tau that survived in the capital city, which was shielded, were now cut off from the Tau Empire. Realizing this, they tried to join up with the Farsight enclaves. The Ethereals, in their limitless benevolence, couldn't find a way to send an evacuation fleet to Mugulaf. But suddenly, when hearing that the survivors were planning to join the Farsight enclaves, they can manage to get a full war fleet through to eradicate every single one of them. Funny how that works. The third expansion phase was called off after not even 3 years. After the Mugulaf incident set the Damocles Gulf on fire, it was not possible to send reinforcements to continue the campaign. Except of course to gun down your own people cause they did a wrong thing and wanted to live. Just somewhere else. Anyway, the Tau Empire saw that shit was coming in fast, and they were at the bottom of the toilet bowl. The way to the north was cut off by the Damocles Gulf burning and the Farsight enclaves. The way west was cut off by angry grumpy skeletons.
Spooky, scary skeletons.
And down south there was nothing left to conquer since High Fleet Gorgon had snacked on everything. In scientific terms, this is what we call shit's fucked. It was at this moment that the Tau decided to launch a fourth expansion phase, because now they had a new toy, the AL-38 Slipstream module. This is basically a warp drive, but instead of tearing open the warp and entering it like the Imperials do, this device creates a bubble of antimatter and then yeets itself through space at such speeds that it literally tears open the fabric of reality, which of course leads them into the warp. The entire 4th expansion fleet was equipped with these engines. This new expansion phase was to be led by none other than Commander Surestrike, the same guy that had led that attack that wiped out the survivors of Mugulaf Bay. So yeah, really nice chap. Now, problem 1. The device actually worked, but they had only tested it on singular vessels. And problem 2. they had only ever used Tau pilots, which have such low psychic presence that they are practically invisible to demons in the warp. The Tau would realize the first problem when instead of a single vessel, an entire fleet activate their slipstream modules. This produced so much antimatter in the same space that it created a warp wormhole that sucked the entire fleet in. All contact was lost and the Tau Empire considered the entire fleet lost. The fleet had in fact not been destroyed, but instead was slingshotted across half the galaxy and was now stuck in the warp. This is where problem 2 comes in. While Tau are practically invisible, their allies are not. So the entire fleet's auxiliary forces practically went insane instantly, since Tau do not have Galar fields. After reenacting Event Horizon,
Oh my god. What happened to your eyes?
Where we're going, we won't need eyes to see.
and being invaded by literal hordes of demons, only 25% of the fleet survived.
Alright, who's not dead? Sound off.
The demons were held at bay, but the fleet was still stranded. However, at that moment when they were about to lose all hope, the Great Rift emerged across the galaxy, overflooding everything with psychic energy. This caused a creature called the Goddess of the Tau Va to appear, which pulled them out of the warp and create another wormhole that connects with the original one in an area now known as the Star-Tide Nexus, in the galactic north. Now, two things happened then. The auxiliary troops that survived started worshipping this goddess, while the Tau themselves suddenly realized that their auxiliaries were the ones that attracted the demons. And now they had perverted their greater good in another one of these demons. This pissed them off so much that they reacted in the only reasonable way: genocide. Sure Strike and the 4th expansion fleet started a massacre and executed every single non-Tau that was part of their fleet, followed by a kind of a personal crusade of super racism. Like I told you, Sure Strike is a lovable little rascal. Now, these events would lead directly to the 5th expansion phase. After Sure Strike and the survivors contacted the Tau Empire again, through the Star-Tide Nexus wormhole, the Tau Empire saw this as a perfect opportunity to start a new expansion phase in a completely different sector of the galaxy. So, Shadow Sun and a new fleet were sent through the wormhole to the region now known as Nemyar Atoll. They linked up with the survivors of the 4th expansion fleet, and after a small discussion of "Hey buddy, where are all your crewed humans and Vespids? Oh, don't worry, they just ran to buy milk." They set out to expand this new region. This all went pretty smooth since the Imperium was kinda dealing with, you know, this. Exactly until a massive Death Guard armada was heading straight into the Nemyar Atoll. This put a halt to the expansion phase, and only a couple of worlds were colonized and held against the stinkies of the Death Guard.
You stink!
The Tau are still trying to expand in that zone, but the conflict with the Death Guard have devastated the 5th expansion fleet to the point that any surviving ships will need a decade of deep cleaning before you can even start to repair them. At the moment, there are several ongoing war zones in that region, including Chalnaf. But Shadow Sun has now concentrated her efforts to the direct north of the Tau Empire. They basically scooted past the Facet enclaves, where she's duking it out with some orcs. So, let's see if those newest worlds of the Tau Empire of the 5th expansion sphere are even worth it. First we got Fe'saan. This was the first world colonized in the Nemyar Atoll and is therefore basically the local capital world. It has a ton of watercast headquarters who try and integrate as many worlds and species from this new region into the Tau Empire as possible. Fe'saan also has 3 moons, which are now the local dock and shipyards of the Tau Navy, the Kor'tal. Not much else to say about it at the moment, but if anyone wants to take control over the Starlight Nexus, they will have to fight for this planet. Then we have Kor'tal. At first glance, this is another case of why the hell would you ever settle here? And you could blame the Tau for just taking whatever they can get, since Kor'tal orbits a black hole, which renders it in a constant state of darkness. Only heavy shielding makes this world barely and then only partially livable. However, Kor'tal might be one of the most important planets of the Tau Empire. It's entirely automated with drone ports and their AI. The few Tau that actually live there are basically just IT nerds to keep it running. They use these drones to harvest pure dark matter from the black hole's event horizon. They use this to power the nova reactors of their biggest battlesuits, like the Riptides. And lastly, there is Yovai. Yovai is the weirdest one yet, and that's saying something, I think you can agree. It's flat. Can you imagine if Tau society also has flat earthers? Oh, well, flat towers, I guess. They will never shut up now that Yovai got discovered. But seriously, it's a flat disk. Even the Tau agree this shouldn't be possible, but here we are. The most popular theory is that this, let's just call it a planet, was shaped by ancient terraforming technology. Its landmasses are in perfect geometrical shapes and there is no core of any kind, not even a flat one. Why anybody out there felt the need to have a goddamn frisbee yeeting around through space is a mystery to me. But hey, if you can make space frisbees, why not? At the moment, Yovai serves as a training grounds for most of Nemyar Atoll's Firecast. Due to having a natural breathable atmosphere and landscape of valleys and great plains, which is pretty close to what the Tau are used to and also prefer. In the current timeline, the Tau are still fighting for multiple worlds surrounding the area. But a 6th expansion phase is already being prepared by the Tau Empire. Where that one will go, who will lead it, and what new toys the Tau got that gives them the confidence that after 3 expansion phases that were brutally stopped to immediately try it again, we'll have to wait and see. So, that's it for Tau Expansion Sphere 3, 4 and 5. There will be one more part after this one that will deal with all the non-expansion sphere septs, the colonies and the homeworlds of the major client races. If you like this video, please give it a like and also consider subscribing. Subscribing will give you the chance to hear me prattle on somewhere in the future and it will make me happy. I also want to say that a lot of these topics I will cover in the future in the dedicated videos. But in these compilation videos I can't go into every single detail, or we'll have videos that are multiple hours long, which some of you might like, but is a bit too much of a daunting task for me and my editing skills. Anyway, thanks for watching, see you all next time, cheers!